Yeah, so to me, I don't know if we can really even talk about queer identities without talking about intersectionality. Intersectionality was coined by Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, and she's a Black civil rights activist, lawyer, and she developed this theory rooted in identifying the ways in which race, gender, and class intersect. And so really that work was rooted in identifying how Black women are often left out of the conversations of, women experiences. Or even when we're talking about the Black experience, often there's a focus on Black men. And so Black women are left out when we're talking about gender, and Black women are left out when we talk about race. And so I think it's really important for us to recognize in the queer community that we can't actually talk about queer identities without talking about racial identities and our social position in society.
It doesn't simply mean your ethnic or racial or religious identity. To me, it also speaks to various lived experiences that you may have had that inform who you are today. And sometimes they're in conflict with one another or they complement one another.
I occupy multiple intersections, and it is exhausting as well as rewarding. Every intersection on its own is important and is vital to our operation in this world, but they also interact with each other. And they layer on each other, and they make life sometimes super difficult despite being super worth living and super worth experiencing.
It's almost like math, like multipliers are being added to the discrimination you face. And it's kind of hard for other people to see how that is working for or against someone.
Just having to constantly either be too much or not enough. So in Black spaces, I may be too queer, or in queer spaces, there's that notion of being too Black. So I think that that's definitely something that is a challenge. I wish that I could just show up as myself and be accepted into both spaces.
Being Latinx, as you can see on the shade spectrum, I'm on the lighter side, right? So there's shadeism in Latin America, just like, there is in many other cultures. So I do see that, there's that intersection where me being a lighter skin Latinx person, right, affords me some privilege in this society and in Latin America especially.
I think a lot of the rhetoric and a lot of the hate that I receive from my gender, from my sexuality, for who I am as a person of color, I truly think is seeped in colonialism. And it's in everything that we do, and it's in everything that I do, unfortunately.
When I'm in spaces where we're talking about being a woman or being queer, what I see again and again is the conversation around racial identity is always erased. So I think the challenging part is when I'm in a space being able to share that part of myself, because I think what often happens is we're told, we can talk about this, but don't bring the racial component in it, because when I talk about my Blackness, it forces other white queer folks to have to talk about their whiteness.
What I would say is that it's not like a hat. Parts of your identity are not like a hat that you wear one at a time, or a pair of glasses that you wear one at a time, or a pair of shoes that you pick one at a time. You wear them all the time, whether you want to or not. And you are sort of starkly reminded of those intersections when you're in spaces and with people that make parts of your identity, all of those intersections, feel unsafe or insecure. It's in those moments that you realize the various pieces that you do carry with you, because suddenly they're not welcome or they're not accepted. And so there's sort of a spotlight on that part of your identity if you carry multiple pieces that isn't being welcome. And at the same time, there are spaces in which you're reminded of the various intersections you have because you've gathered with people who share some of those pieces. And so that's a positive setting in which intersections or intersectionality becomes quite vivid and clear.
So for me, intersectionality is how I live and breathe on a daily basis. It's being Black, it's being Ethiopian, it's being woman, it's being mother. It's that I grew up in disinvested communities. It's that, I'm bisexual, I'm queer. I have all of the ways in which I show up in the world is part of who I am in an intersectional lens.
So just taking into account everyone's intersections and where everyone falls on those intersectionalities is super important to seeing someone as a full person.